Thank you all for coming. You're disabled. You're disabled. I'm disabled. None of the people I just mentioned are actually disabled. I only say this to point out the hypocrisy of the term disabled. None of us here or around the world were born with the abilities we currently have. It is only through the assistance of teachers, parents, and other people that we acquire the abilities that we currently have. Even the books that we read are assisting, the author is assisting us in acquiring knowledge. Society itself is dependent on assistance for it to function properly as one generation prepares the next to forge the future. We need to focus on the individual's ability and not what we deem as their inabilities. I want you to keep the idea of ability in the front of your thoughts as I have the pleasure and honor of introducing today's speaker, Justin Constantine. Mr. Constantine served in the Marine Corps for over 16 years, both as active duty and as a reservist. He retired at the rank of lieutenant colonel. While serving in Iraq, he suffered a horrific gunshot wound to the head and survived thanks to the Navy corpsmen and fellow Marines with him that day. Despite his injury, Justin continued to practice law at the Department of Justice and with a counterterrorism unit at the FBI. In 2014, he graduated with honors from Georgetown University with an advanced law degree in national security studies. In 2015, he wrote My Battlefield, Your Office, Leadership Lessons from the Front Lines, taking celebrated leadership practices from the Marines and applying them to the private sector. Justin is a presidential leadership scholar and was named Champion of Change by the Obama White House and was also one of the wounded warriors painted by the recently deceased President Bush in his book, Portraits of Courage. Justin's latest book, From We Will to At Will, a handbook for veteran hiring, transitioning, and thriving at the workplace, was recently published by the Society for Humane Resource Management. Justin is now a Chief Business Development Officer at JobPath, the most robust and fastest growing veteran employment platform in the country. Wow, a dedicated and decorated soldier for almost 2 decades, who continued to serve his country after his injury while earning an advanced law degree, accomplished author who has been celebrated by former presidents, especially Obama, who now works tirelessly to help those who have suffered injuries, both physical and mental, while sacrificing their lives so that we may live in peace and security. If you were to take this impressive list of accomplishments and attribute them to an able-bodied individual, that individual would certainly be celebrated. But to see such ability in an individual deemed disabled deserves at the very least a standing ovation from all of us. So please help me show a fraction of the admiration deserved to the former lieutenant colonel, former judge attorney general officer, current CBD officer at JobPath, motivational and inspirational speaker, Justin Constantine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. Thanks for that very warm welcome. I've never had an introduction like that. That was incredible and one of a kind. So like maybe everyone else in this room is incredible, one of a kind. But I appreciate it. I know you all are busy students. You have a lot of things going on. So the fact that you came here today, spent some time, I really do appreciate that. I spoke with Dennis earlier about coming in and talking with all of you. I know we have a variety of students here, some staff. Can you guys hear me okay in the back? Great, some staff, other folks from just outside the general public, and I think that's fantastic. I know some of you are veterans, some of you are people with disabilities, some of you fall in both categories like I do. All are welcome here today, of course. I know that from talking with Dennis about previous speakers you had here, a couple of whom are friends of mine, and from reading about the content that he pushes out to all of you, that having impactful and good content is important to him. So hopefully I fall in that category. I guess we'll wait to see how that goes today. But all that being said, I want to spend some time talking with you today about 3 lessons I learned after a tough day in Iraq, about the amazing courage and sacrifice of those around me over the last 12 years, and also the upside of change. Before I get started, I should mention I had a nice little opportunity to spend some time with you out in the lobby. I did see all the Kappa Sigs here today. How's the Kappa? I was a Kappa Sig at school in Virginia where I went a long time ago, and so good to see the support here. But so why am I up here in front of you today? I can't see out of my left eye. I'm missing most of my teeth and the end of my tongue, and as you can tell, I can't see perfectly clearly. I can't run anymore because the doctors took bones out of my legs to use in reconstructing my upper and lower jaws after I was shot in Iraq. I also suffer from post-traumatic stress and a traumatic brain injury. But guess what? I'm the luckiest person in this whole room. Because the injury caused these problems, I'm now far closer with my wife Dahlia than I ever would have imagined. I know I'm far stronger than I ever would have thought before. And I can now put everyday problems in their proper perspective so I can focus on what's truly important to Dahlia and me. Winston Churchill once said, never give in, never give in, never, 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 never. And I try to fully embrace that philosophy during my recovery. But I think it applies to any of us who are facing a challenge in our life, which is all of us at one point or another. Now, I joined the Marine Corps while I was in law school. So on active duty, I came in as a judge advocate, as we call it, as a lawyer for the Marine Corps. I was a criminal defense counsel in Okinawa, Japan, and then a criminal prosecutor for about 4 years at Camp Pendleton, California. I left active duty in 2004, joined the Reserves the next year. It was actually, I used to live in Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. So the unit I joined was all lawyers, teaching young Marines, or all Marines who were getting ready to deploy, about the law of war and rules of convention and what they could do and could not do once they got into Iraq or Afghanistan. The next year, though, I transferred to a different unit to deploy attached to a Marine infantry battalion. In the Marine Corps, all the officers learn the basics of many different positions. So I volunteered for that deployment as a civil affairs team leader. In that capacity, I had the honor of leading a small team of Marines. I have a picture of us outside our warehouse in Iraq. I know what you're all thinking. Justin, why is Brad Pitt over here on the left-hand side? Just some other really good-looking guy who you might recognize. Well, as a civil affairs team leader, I was expected to develop relationships with the local Iraqis and local Iraqi leaders to help rebuild destroyed infrastructure, things that we take for granted here, like electricity that works for more than 4 hours at a time, clean running water, drivable roads, and well-needed schools. I know some of you may have been in places like that. Unfortunately, you may remember that in the fall of 2006, this was a very kinetic time for the Marines in Al-Anbar province. The insurgency was at its most powerful level. This is right before the surge of 2007, if some of you remember that. Although, I guess I'm kind of dating myself. Maybe I know a couple who remember it, but not too many. But this is a rough time over there. Convincing the local Iraqis to work with us was sometimes almost impossible, because they'd be visited at night with very real death threats from those insurgents for the slightest sign of cooperating with us. That being said, I always look back on my time in Iraq as a highlight of my career, because not many lawyers get the opportunity to lead Marines in a combat environment. And I learned a lot about leadership and a lot about myself while I was there. Now I work very closely with the battalion commander, Colonel Grossier. I wasn't sure who I was going to work for until we got into Iraq. When I went to introduce myself to him, we realized we had played Marine Corps rugby together, so that was pretty cool. He put me on what he calls his jump team, which was comprised of about a dozen of us. We all worked very closely together. We went out across the wire about 4 or 5 times per week. Colonel Grossier was a Marine's Marine. He had been a sergeant on the enlisted side. At this point, he was lieutenant colonel. Ultimately, he retired as a full bird colonel. Just like every other leader in this room, it was really important for Colonel Grossier to see his Marines face to face and be able to look at them and assess how they were doing. He was responsible for a huge area of operations, so we spent a lot of time going to our forward operating bases, or our FOBs, as we call them, so he could check on the Marines, make sure they had the food and ammo and weapons they all needed, and they were doing okay. Well, this is a picture of one of our FOBs. You can see it's actually a very nice house that we have paid the family to relocate so that we could have our Marines live there. we didn't want to just tell them, you guys should fight the insurgents. We wanted to help them do that. You can see we try to up-armor it from sniper fire and mortar fire across the top and down the next building as well. We were near this fog on October 18, 2006, so just over 12 years ago, and we got to an area where we knew an enemy sniper was operating because he had killed a few of our Marines in that area in the past couple weeks. Of course, that was not going to get in the way of our mission. Now, interestingly, we had a reporter there with us that day. He was there from North Carolina to do a story about the colonel and about the unit because they were from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And I noticed during one of our stops earlier in the day, he was standing quite still and not moving around, which of course is a terrible idea if a sniper may be charging you. So we got to our next stop, and he and I were actually in the same vehicle. As we got out and started walking away from the Humvee, I just said to him, "Hey Jay, you need to move quicker here. Don't forget about that sniper. We don't want something to happen to you." When Jay told me later that based on that, he immediately took a big step forward, and a split-second later, a bullet came in where his head had been and hit the wall between us. Before I could react, the next round hit me behind my left ear and exploded out of my mouth, causing incredible damage along the way. In fact, the Marines around me thought I'd been killed, and when the Navy corpsman came running over, I said, "Don't worry about the major, he's dead." But George Grant is an incredible young man. Even though blood was pouring out of my head and what was left of my face, he was somehow able to perform rescue breathing on me, and then he cut up my throat and performed an emergency tracheotomy so I wouldn't drown my own blood. In the face of overwhelming adversity with complete disregard for his own life, George was able to focus solely on me and keeping me alive. In fact, despite all that was going on around him, including the fact that the sniper, of course, was still shooting at him and the rest of the Marines, and this is a typical day over there, so it's over 100 degrees, so very, sweaty circumstances. Some of you have been to places like this. This isn't a nice hostile environment. This is a battlefield. There was dirt and dust and sand and rocks everywhere. And George was wearing 65 pounds of protective armor like we all were that summer, so a very laborious process for him. But despite all that, George did such a perfect job in my tracheotomy that my plastic surgeon back here in the States told me he thought another surgeon had performed it, which is pretty incredible in its own right. But keep in mind that George is only 25 years old. Some of you are around 25 years old. Not that row, you guys are a little bit younger, but you guys down here are around 25 years old. Yeah, not William. I look back on what I was doing when I was 25, and it certainly wasn't that. So keep in mind George is 25 years old. Keep in mind that George had never performed this type of surgery on a human being before. This is also his first combat deployment. He had only performed this type of surgery at a training evolution from Navy corpsman out of Camp Pendleton before the deployment. And he performed that surgery on a pig. I don't know what it says about me, but he told me the pig, he did say the pig survived, and obviously I did too, so I guess that's okay. I could brag about George all day. I'd rather just show you a couple of pictures. I know these are a little bit fuzzy in the back, but obviously I came back from Iraq a lot sooner than I expected to, than I wanted to. When Dahlia and I got the call in Virginia that 3-2, the unit was coming back to Camp Lejeune, we got in our car and drove down to North Carolina. And some of you have been part of these welcome home ceremonies. Our unit had inflicted a lot of damage on the enemy, but we had also absorbed a lot of injuries ourselves, and so the family readiness group at home was quite solid. There were a lot of people out for this thing, hundreds and hundreds of family members. We could see the bus coming through the base, Marines, hanging out the window, having a good time. You can imagine the first person I went up to and gave a big hug to and said, "Thank you. Thank you for saving my life." Of course, it's George. And look how tired George looks in this picture. He had been there for 7 months, like the rest of the guys. And I wasn't the only Marine he saved. He saved a number of us. But there were also a good handful of his friends who literally died in his arms there. And that's a lot of weight for someone to carry around. And in fact, it's something that George and I still talk about to this day because we're good friends. Fast forward 5 years, George was my guest at a Wounded Warrior event down in Florida, and I like looking at that because you can see how far along we both come during our recoveries. So one incident has caused huge change in my life. That bullet could have missed me, like it did with Jay the reporter, or it could have been like what happened to Corporal Huerta, the Marine behind me, who was also shot in the head by the same sniper. He was shot right here, but miraculously, the bullet bounced off his sand goggles, which were not designed for that, ricocheted off to the side. He was knocked out for a couple minutes, but he was fine. But that's not what happened. You can see what's happened. Change is what's happened. But I've learned to adapt to this change and grow with it. And now I use this change to better my life and the lives of others around me. So let's just take a couple minutes to talk about what change looks like. I told you there's good-looking guys everywhere throughout the presentation. You have to get used to it. I'm sorry. So here I am down in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 2006. Dalia took this picture. We had just met. I know what you're thinking. This is a ridiculous amount of food. I know that, okay? I was there. I was ordering, I was learning Spanish. I ordered in Spanish. The waiter thought I was the typical dumb American who didn't know what he was saying. But I figured, what better way to impress this beautiful young lady I just met and as a Marine Corps captain to show how much red meat I could eat at one time, okay? However, I didn't know that Dalia was a proud graduate of Berkeley University out in California and a vegetarian. So, yeah, I know you all were impressed. She wasn't, and I felt her food come about an hour later, so, that didn't go too well. And so that was back in 2006, early, just before the deployment. This is a picture from 7 years after I was shot. So this is in 2013. It was 7 years before I could take a bite of food. These are bottom dentures. They were able to build pretty quickly. I really only had 4 teeth that stayed in my mouth. They're all molars. I joke and say they all had their own Purple Heart medal because they all really troopers. They hung on for life. But it took 7 years before the doctors could rebuild my upper mouth enough to support upper dentures. And in fact, they didn't turn out very well, so I don't even wear them to this day. But so Dalia on this day made tiny little sliders. Also, my mouth doesn't open very widely because of all the scar tissue. So she made these little sliders that I could actually take a bite of. We commemorated that moment. But imagine going 7 years, without taking a bite of food. I can cut up food and push it to the back of my mouth. Like when you guys are all eating those sandwiches out there, they look good. You take it for granted, grab a sandwich, take a bite. I can't do that. Otherwise, it looks like a Nat Geo session where all the hyenas are eating and stuff's going everywhere. That's what ends up with me. But so eating now isn't necessarily the same experience it once was, especially because I have a diminished sense of taste and smell, which is a byproduct of the injury. But Dalia spends a lot of time. She cooks most of our food. She cooks most of our food at home, and she takes a lot of time to make sure it's soft enough so it doesn't hurt the upper part of the mouth, which is always going to be sensitive, but also flavorful enough that I can really enjoy it. So our meals have oddly turned into something that brings us together every single time, way more than we ever would have had before. Here I am on October 1, 2006. This is in Iraq. You can see Colonel Grosse and I went to the same barber over there. But he was promoting me on this day from captain to major, so that was a good day. This is definitely the last picture I have of myself before I was shot. 2 weeks after this, I was injured. I'm going to show you a quick picture of that. This is just a picture I'm going to be up here for a couple of seconds, not for shock value, but just to show you what George was dealing with at the time and what the amount of change I've gone through over the last 12 years. This is a picture from me in the hospital on the operating table. And then this is from a year later when I was at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, where they just took a bone from my left leg to use in reconstructing my upper jaw. So, a lot changed during a short amount of time. And over the last 10 years, I've learned some important lessons that have helped me cope with a truly life-altering situation. Now, I know that what I've been through is on the extreme end of the spectrum, but what I've learned isn't. Just as I face challenges in my personal and professional lives, everyone else here has too. So let's talk about these 3 lessons. Number 1, it's okay to ask for help and to lean on others for support. I know a lot about that. As I told you, I would not be here today if it weren't for George Grant and a bunch of other Marines around me that day. But when I woke up in the hospital and kind of realized what had happened, for me it was mission failure. I was really embarrassed about what had happened. I had survivor's guilt. Like every other Marine warrior, I just want to be back in Iraq with my Marines. Somehow they did a great job without me. I don't know how that's possible, but they did a fantastic job. And I was just very embarrassed. In fact, I told Dahlia and my parents not to invite any of my friends to come be in the hospital and see me that way. I didn't want help from anyone, which is crazy because I was getting help 24/7 from doctors and nurses and support staff and my family and everyone else. I've had a very fortunate recovery. If I could go back and change anything, it would be to change my mindset about not feeling okay asking for help. I definitely do think it's okay to ask for help when it's warranted. When they first sent me home from the hospital, I was on a feeding tube for a long time, for months. And so they sent me home with hundreds of cans of the Ensure protein drink. And so when it was time to eat, I could smell Dahlia cooking herself something delicious. I was very jealous. I started drooling like crazy. I couldn't have any of that. Instead, she'd come over and stick the feeding tube in my stomach and say, "You want chocolate, strawberry, vanilla," as if I could taste it when it went from the funnel right into my stomach. But I like having a chocolate shake every day, so we ran through the chocolate ones pretty quickly. But I had to ask for help just with eating. I was in a wheelchair for quite a while and then crutches for a long time. I couldn't drive anywhere. I had trouble getting out of bed. I had to ask for help for every aspect of life. And so I got used to that. And take a second to think about it. Doesn't everyone in this room enjoy helping other people? When someone's coming to you with a problem, what have you done? You know, you probably stop what you're doing and put your work to the side or whatever it is you're doing and focus solely on them. Just like George did for me when I needed it most. That's the type of reception you are going to get when you turn to a loved one or another student who's a good friend of yours or a family member or a mentor or whoever it is that you feel comfortable talking to and opening up about that challenge you're facing. It doesn't have to be extreme like what I went through. Your challenge is your challenge. And so trust me on this. Life is too short to walk around dealing with heavy issues all on our own when help is just a conversation away. I'm sorry, I skipped a part. I meant to talk about post-traumatic stress or PTSD, and I meant to tell you that I've been helped by at least a dozen different veterans organizations. When Dahlia and I first identified I have PTSD, it was tough for me to wrap my head around that. But I figured I could handle it one of two ways. I could go talk to an objective professional, someone who had worked with other warriors before, who had studied this material, who could help explain to you that what I've been through, of course, there's going to be some sort of reaction from my mind and my body. And not to have any type of reaction might be a little bit odd. Or I could go just push on, press on, not do anything, push my feelings deep down, and not talk to anybody. Well, asking for help on this very personal issue, and I went to a psychologist weekly, one-on-one for 18 months. So not only seeking help on that help me individually, but now I've been asked by the Marine Corps and the VA and the Wounded Warrior Project and other groups to speak openly about post-traumatic stress and PTSD in an effort to help other veterans who are out there who might be struggling. I really like helping other veterans and other groups as well. We all have the groups we like to support. I feel good when I do that. I only get that because at one point I raised my hand and identified I actually need a lot of help right now. And so it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to lean on others for support. Now let's talk about lesson number 2. Teamwork is critical for success, for you and for others around you. And all the veterans in the room, I know we have some active duty folks as well, teamwork is obvious to you, it's critical to everything we do, but I still think we have a lot of folks who aren't veterans here. But I still think it's important to touch on this critical element. Whether you're playing on a sports team, patrolling with a squad of Marines, or being part of a group study session, you just can't get it done all by yourself. This is a quick picture. I told you about Colonel Grossier. When we got to Iraq, one of the challenges we faced was that we couldn't tell, it was two challenges in one. We couldn't tell who the Iraqis were from the insurgents, and also it was normal and legal for the men to openly carry heavy weaponry, like way more than Texas. Like you know, tons and tons of weapons everywhere. If you're from Texas, I apologize. So that was a real challenge for us. What Colonel Grossier did was he confiscated a lot of those weapons, and then once the area was secure, because we were trying to push westwards from Ramadi, where there was a lot of heavy fighting going on, once he decided the area was secure, he returned the weapons. But not to the individuals, he returned them to the imams. And some of you know this, the imams are incredibly important people there. They are the town leader, the religious leader, the elder spokesman, all wrapped up into one. And if you didn't have a good relationship with the imams, nothing was going to happen. Colonel Grossier knew that. Even though he didn't speak Arabic and these gentlemen did not speak English, we had some translators, but you know, we'd come up in the morning and say good morning, and then the translator would talk for like 5 minutes. And you're like, I know you just said a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, you know, it's a challenge. You know, even when you have a good translator, which we did have some good ones. But he was able to overcome some real hardships. Because let's face it, these leaders sometimes had very different priorities than Colonel Grossier. He was able to create teams with them. And I remind myself this when I'm having trouble creating a team, whether it's in a personal relationship or in a professional relationship. I think back to here, under these Spartan conditions, and I remind myself, if he was able to do that there and make a whole area safe, I certainly can do it anywhere I'm going. Now, I told you I worked closely with Colonel Grossier, and we were actually on the same patrol when I was shot. And when I was shot, he was faced with a tough decision. Should he call in a medical evacuation, not really knowing how long it would take for a helicopter to get there because of competing interests all over the battlefield? Or should he risk a roadside bomb, the IEDs that we literally hit every day there, and have someone drive me to the aid station in an effort to stabilize me? Some of you have seen in the news, some of you know this firsthand, but others have seen in the news how powerful those IEDs are, how hard they are to see, and as I said, we hit them every day. Well, he opted for Corporal Jordan Brewer, a 21-year-old Marine from a small rural town outside New Orleans, and told him to drive me as fast as possible. Now here, well, not New York, but everywhere else in the country, driving at 70 miles an hour is no big deal. We do it all the time. But at that time in Iraq, we had a standing order to never drive faster than 15 miles an hour. Because we had learned the hard way, if we hit a vehicle going faster than that, it dramatically increased the chances of flipping end over end and very likely killing everyone. In fact, I told you I was shot on October 18, 2006. This is a picture I took 2 days before that, one of our vehicles that hit an IED. But just like Corman Grant, Corporal Brewer put his own life on the line for me and drove us at 70 miles an hour to get to that aid station in what they call the golden hour, which is so critical after a traumatic injury. I can't think of a greater example of teamwork than Corporal Brewer, Corman Grant, and then Colonel Grossier doing everything they could together as the E4 and E5 and O5, working perfectly together to make sure I would live to tell this story. Now, they're only the first half of my team that day. I want to read to you part of a letter I received last year from the Navy captain who was the commanding officer of the medical unit that when Corporal Brewer drove me there were a team of doctors there. I never, of course, I don't remember that whole incident. I never was introduced to them later, but last year they invited me to come out to California to speak at their Marine Corps birthday ball. I just thought it was a regular naval medical unit. I didn't know who they were. It wasn't until I got there they identified, they invited me specifically because they had operated on me 30 minutes after I was shot, and they wanted a chance to talk to me. So this is a letter that is part of a letter that the Navy officer, the captain, wrote. He introduced me there to two of the other surgeons. Not many Navy warriors get a chance to say thank you to the men and women who operated on them right after I got injured. So I had the opportunity. But here's his letter to put things in perspective. Justin, This is my remembrance of the day you were wounded in 2006. Of the more than 3,500 patients we treated in our hospitals over our deployment, your case stands out to me. I'm not sure if it was the nature of your wounds, the way your people supported you, the way my team worked together and sought out innovative ways to treat you and move you to the next level of care, or a combination of all of them together. But I remember you. I was there when you arrived. The vehicle carrying you arrived with little to no warning. You were sitting up on a stretcher in the back, conscious but in shock and bleeding heavily. They couldn't lay you back because you were bleeding so badly and had no way of controlling the blood going down your throat. The challenge of getting you off the truck, checking you for weapons and ordnance, and getting you into the ER was made that much more difficult because movement hurt you and you were bleeding rapidly. You obviously couldn't talk, but I remember your eyes and the fact that you seemed to be lucid and engaged. I remember you shaking your head when they tried to lower you into the prone position, and how you bled in ribbons in the dust and on the floor when you moved your head. The challenge was how they were going to establish an airway while you were sitting up so you could breathe while lying on a stretcher. We made the decision to put you to sleep while sitting up, and the anesthesiologist intubated you on the way down. The trouble was there wasn't enough tissue left to anchor the tube in place, and one of our techs ended up holding the tube stable while you were reclining. By the time they got you prone, the tube was in place and they were breathing for you. The surgeons and our other folks were tying off blood vessels, cleaning your wound, and securing your tongue before packing your face and bandaging you. You were securing a body bag to help you retain heat. That was our standard operating procedure at the time, and preparing you for transport in that helicopter. By the time you were ready to get on it, you were unrecognizable from when you came in. You were encased in vinyl, unconscious, and breathing through a tube and heavily bandaged. The nature of your wounds and risk of infection, not to mention the challenge of rebuilding your face and jaw, were daunting, but God had something else in mind for you than an untimely end. I think you were meant for a life of service, and through your own story of suffering and triumph over adversity, you can inspire others to carry on. These are among the greatest qualities, and I would expect no less from a U.S. Marine. I know it seems a heavy burden, and it's been incredibly hard for you, but you've been equal to the task, and there's no other way to explain what happened and why. So in fact, I didn't read that letter for a week. He gave it to me. I knew it would be emotional for me, finding out exactly what happened that day. So it was emotional when I read it, and I appreciated the fact that he obviously took a lot of time to reflect on what happened and let me know that. I rarely share this letter with groups outside, of course, my wife and my close friends, but I know there are a number of veterans in this room, and I just wanted to share something with you to help put things in perspective. I could very easily and probably should have been one of the 7,000 service members who did not make it back from Iraq or Afghanistan, but thanks to some incredibly important people, I'm now on a different path. Now, when I got to the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland, my life was turned upside down and inside out, as you can imagine. But one person held it all together for me, and that was Dahlia. Back in 2006, Dahlia and I were not yet married. You already heard about the first date. I'm surprised it ever went past that. But we weren't married yet. That was in 2006. We didn't get married until 2008. Well, what type of husband would I be if I talked about my wedding and didn't show you at least one picture of it? So here we are. Yeah, she's actually, I know it looks like she's doing that cake thing, but I said, just, if not for me, respect the medals and the jacket and all that. So she's actually being very polite there. But we met early, as I told you, in Buenos Aires. Dahlia was there from California. I was there from Virginia. We were in a Spanish immersion course together. We hit it off right away, spent some time together there, then dated that summer back in the States. Interesting, when I left for Iraq, Dahlia also left the country. She left to pursue a PhD at Cambridge University in England. We were still able to keep in touch, though, through letters and care packages and mostly email. When I was initially airlifted out of Iraq, they took me to the military hospital in Landstuhl, Germany, which some of you are familiar with. Landstuhl, Germany is where the serious injuries go when they come out of theater. it's typically very unusual for a service member to have a personal visitor there, unless the Department of Defense brings in the family in case it's a worst case scenario. But Dahlia was already in England, so she was able to get to Germany pretty easily. And we were there together for 4 days. And then the doctors decided it was time to send me on to the Naval Hospital in Bethesda. At that point, Dahlia decided to drop out of her doctoral program to come be with me in the hospital. Never mind that going to Cambridge was a lifelong dream of hers. Never mind that she's from the West Coast. She never heard of Bethesda, Maryland. Certainly didn't know anyone in that part of the country. And never mind at that point, the doctors still weren't sure I was going to survive what happened to me. But when I woke up from my coma, Dahlia was there by my side, and together we've used, consciously and subconsciously, every aspect of teamwork, which is what it's taken to have a successful and healthy recovery after that. This is a picture from my Purple Heart ceremony, and because Dahlia was the cornerstone of my recovery, I had started to view it really as our injury and our Purple Heart because she was through it thick and thin. So I thought it was entirely appropriate when the general pinned the medal on my chest for her to be up there next to me. And obviously she looks a lot better than I do, so you know, I need all the help I can get, so I'm not complaining. But lesson number 3, you're stronger than you think you are. In the military, they train us very hard to be tough and efficient and extremely resilient. Physical and mental fitness is a part of everything we do. In fact, before I went to deploy to Iraq, remember I don't come from an infantry background. If someone had described to me what it's truly like to carry 2 weapons, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, 65 pounds of protective armor, and to conduct long foot patrols, 4, 5, or 6 hours at a stretch, all in 100, 110, 115 degree heat, I very well may have said, I can't do that. But I could, and I did, just like the thousands of other soldiers and Marines and airmen and sailors and coasties out there every single day. You're stronger than you think you are, and you are all capable of doing amazing things. It's important to remember that if you're having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, and it feels like your whole world is caving in around you. Because the bottom line is, if you dig deep, you're going to find resources that you may not have known you had before. We are all survivors. We have all overcome adversity of some sort. We've all fought our share of battles. We've all become smarter and stronger and wiser and braver because of the struggles that we endured. Maybe not right away. It's 12 years for me. I still need more surgery. And maybe not very easily. Some of you are probably facing some significant challenges in your own lives right now. But we've all bounced back from hard times and proven to ourselves that our spirit is stronger than anything that can threaten to break it. There are other reports about my injury, but I had been killed in action. But in fact, when George Grant first rolled me over, I was no longer breathing. He was able to bring me back. So I know that life can be tough and full of challenges. But trust me on this, life is also sweet and precious and beautiful and something we should treasure, not just get through. Life, in my mind, is about celebration, not merely survival. You know, life changes, for better or worse. It all depends how you look at it. I choose the glass to be half full, not half empty, and to embrace change. Because I want to live life in the future, not the past. I've learned through inner strength and humility and the victorious spirit we can each overcome the toughest obstacles. I know that I'm going to have problems eating and drinking and obviously communicating and just remembering things for the rest of my life. But just like 2 or 3 years ago, with my speech impediment and traumatic brain injury, I never would imagine being invited to a university to come and share my story. So just think about what you can do and your teams around you can do when you really put your mind to it. Now, as I start to wrap up here, I want to tell you it's been a real pleasure for me to come and talk with you. I said it's okay to ask for help. The other side of that coin, it's important for you to look for opportunities to help other people around you. to that end, this is my contact information. Usually speakers don't want you taking out your phones when they're talking. You can do that. If you want to take a picture, connect with me on LinkedIn, whatever it is. If what I said resonates with you, if I can help you in any way, please consider me a resource. I'm here to help. I want to do that for you. So don't stop asking for help. Don't stop looking for ways to help other people. And make sure you're being a force for good in your local communities. Now, I know that everyone's life can get stressful. Mine too. But the last lesson I have, I'm a lawyer by background. I told you I had 3 lessons. I actually had 4. We don't always tell the exact truth. So I have a 4th quick lesson, and that's to maintain a good sense of humor. Quick example. Not long after I was shot, I was still in the hospital in Bethesda. And remember, I did not deploy as a lawyer. That's important for this. I was with the infantry, and my father came in. I had a very serious look on his face. I was still hooked up to all the monitors and machines. He looked me in the eye and he said, "See, Justin, even in Iraq, they know who the lawyers are." And I said, "No, Dad, no, too soon. May not make it through this one, but it probably was a little too soon. But I looked back at it later, and I thought, what, that was pretty funny." And what I really thought was, wow, if we could find a way to laugh at what we were going through at that time, everyone in this room can find a way to laugh somehow at the challenges you're facing. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a question and answer period, but Semper Fi, and thank you all very much. Thank you. Great, thanks, Aaron. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I know a lot of you may have to leave to go. We woke up that row. I know that some of you have to leave to go to classes, but we're going to do a question and answer period. If you have to get up, not a problem at all. Just go ahead and do that.
For anyone that has any questions, please come to the mic on your left, thanks. My right. Let's form a line.
No one ever wants to be the first to ask a question, and I've done this many times.
Check 1 2 1 2. Oh yes, awesome.
So hi, my name is Sabrina Avila. I'm a staff member here at Queens College. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You spoke in a very positive light in terms of your process.
Yep.
Was there ever a time frame where you just said, I can't do this anymore? And what got you through that moment?
Yeah, certainly it hasn't been a better roses. I appreciate the question. It has always, did I have my own challenges? I had some dark days, and certainly I did. To this day I do. I didn't start going to counseling probably until a year after I was injured, which is kind of common in the veteran community. A lot of the symptoms don't show up or manifest for 6 or 12 months later. When I first, especially early on, because you saw the picture, that was from a week later when I was on the operating table. I looked like that for quite a long time. And I wish I could say, oh, I don't care how I look, and all that, but I did care. But I didn't even know that because when I was first injured, all sorts of people across the country and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts sent me cards, and they told my mom and Dahlia to put them up in the windows in the mirror so I wouldn't see my reflection, which they did. And then I started walking again, and I had a walker, and I could walk to the bathroom and back, and that was a big day. It was 10 feet away. Got to the door and back and down the hall. And one night, hospitals are very lonely places at night once everyone's gone. And Dahlia had left, and I was like, let me just see if I could walk down the hall. And I did, and it was at night, so I walked to the window, and I saw my reflection, and I thought, wow, I had no idea it looked like that. And that was tough. I mean, clearly I'm still emotional thinking about it right now. So, even though I was on all sorts of medicine and all that, it still took a long time mentally to process that. I started seeing improvements at this point. I've had over 25 reconstructive surgeries, so I've seen a lot of change. But I talked about Dahlia on this. Having someone who loves you near you is critical. Not everyone has that. Other wounded warriors had a very different experience. My roommate in the hospital was a young Marine who lost half his leg. He and his wife ended up getting divorced. He had a very different experience. I had people around me who cared and showed it to me, and I was also a little bit older. That made a difference too. But I guess it's a long answer to a short question, but going to counseling was a big part. Opening up and telling people what I needed was a big part. And even today, I still have to talk through some things. Remind myself, don't take everything personal. Like here in New York, it's easy. Like I watched today on the subway, I watched some guy going right through Penn Station, almost knocked this girl over. He didn't care. He kept going. And my first reaction was like, what a, I'm not going to say it when we're being filmed, what a not so nice guy. And it wasn't nice by no means. But then I thought, who am I to judge? I don't know what he's going through. I don't know what news he just heard. Maybe he is a jerk 24/7. I don't know. Maybe he's going through something really bad. And so I learned that because I was a jerk a lot of times too during my recovery. That's not really what you asked, but I kind of went off on a tangent. But I just want to say that we never know what people are going through, so give people a break when you can. It took positivity. It took a gratitude journal of making a list of things I do care about and what I do appreciate, what I do have in my life. It took recognizing I can't control that guy in Penn Station. I can't control much. I can control how I think about things. I can control my attitude, and really starting to focus. So these things took a long time to pull all together, but that's really what's helped. So I'm sorry it was so long. Thank you for the question. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
I'm Kevin. I go to 217. And
Okay.
I wanted to ask, were there ever anybody like, for example, if you were going through the train station or whatever, were there people that made fun of you?
Made fun of me. Thank you, Kevin. Good question. Were there people who made fun of me? There weren't people who necessarily made fun of me, but for a long time, I could tell, and it still happens this day, people look at me and wondering what happened. Not so much now, but then definitely. In fact, I accidentally started a small business because of it. It sounds crazy. Dolly and I were at the beach in Delaware, and because I could see every time I walked past someone in my head like that, they were wondering what the heck happened to this guy. We went to a t-shirt shop, and I just made a t-shirt that said Iraq and back in big letters, just to kind of answer that question. But it calls a whole bunch of people come to me and say, hey, thank you for your service, or my brother was in, or I was there, and conversations. And we thought, this is sparking all this conversation. Today's veterans, we don't know who they are. They're walking around. America wants to say thank you. And so we created a whole line of t-shirts and backpacks and hoodies and magnets for the service member and their family members. We have onesies for the kids. They're really cute. We had all sorts of things. So that was just because I knew people were wondering. So no one made fun of me to my face. Maybe, I'm sure people make fun of me all the time behind my back. But no, but we all be very sensitive. You can tell when people feel or look at you funny and all that. So that was part of the challenge. Getting the courage to leave the house. I didn't go out to eat for a year. Because I make a big mess. I still have to wear a bib when I eat, but I've kind of gotten over that over time. But you just have to remind yourself, if someone's doing that, that's a small person. That person's got a lot of problems that they're having to work through, if they're going to make fun of me for something like that. And you can apply that to any aspect of your life. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for your service. My name
Sure.
is Pesci. I had a question. How'd you find your inner strength to keep on going? Like you said, it took you a couple months to look in the mirror, learn how to eat, and plus you went back to school.
Right.
How'd you get that fire in you to do all that stuff back? Because it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. Right? The question is how do I get the fire back? And it just takes some processing and thinking about things. I look at it this way. I am lucky to be here. I shouldn't be here, probably, all things considered. I don't want to waste a minute of my life. I don't want, it could go like that, like it almost did, and that's for all of us. I don't want to be a pinball bouncing around, wasting my time on things I don't really care about. I want to work on things that I want to work on, and I want to do all of them very well. Before I went for that advanced law degree at Georgetown, I wasn't some scholar or else I would have had in my bio I was always a scholar. I didn't have those accolades before. I got shot in the head. I wanted to prove to myself and other people I could still do well academically. I was a honor grad in my class in the Marine Corps, the Command and Staff College, and then Dean's List at Georgetown because I wanted to do really well there. Everything, and I didn't have that mentality before, but everything I do now, I want to do important things and do them well. And like I said earlier, I can only control so much of my life. So I don't try to engage in everything that's going on there. I don't have fear of missing out. I focus on different select things I can do them well. And that was a big part of, identifying that and realizing that and saying, you know what, I can only control so much. I want to be a positive influence on people who are important to me. I want to somehow take what happened to me and deal with it in a positive way and help others. And so it's taken a while, but really a lot of it has to do with being grateful for what we have. And my wife and I have a gratitude journal where we take notes and share with each other things that we're grateful for, even if it's a really nice day, or the fact that we're living inside, or whatever it is. Don't take things for granted. It's easy to do, and once you start detailing things you're grateful for, you realize how lucky and how precious life is. Right. Thank you.
We have time for one last question, so no pressure, Carmen.
Thank you.
Carmen, right?
Yes, that's correct. Great. I'm a Navy veteran. One thing I took, two things, to be more humble from what you taught me today. Also, enjoy the moment. Try to be nicer to people. Yeah. And so this is more of a legalistic question because you do have a legal background. Uh-oh. So do you feel...
You're not my client. I'm not giving you...
For free, though. Do you feel that the VA and the DOD and the U.S. government, basically the VA, should stop the prohibition on cannabis and medical marijuana for veterans? And because you probably know it has been very helpful and it can help and it's been proven. But if you could touch on that, you can. Sure. If you don't want to, you can.
No, I will. I'm here for you. I'm not so sure for the VA, obviously. It's a complicated issue. I will tell you, the corpsman who saved my life has a lot of his own medical issues. Cannabis has been a big part of his recovery and helps him where other medicines don't. It's a complicated issue because we see on the state levels they're saying it's okay, recreational use, but the federal government laws is what's the law of the land. The VA is a federal entity, so that rules. That's why it's complicated for them. And so, if you ask me, Justin, do you wish this was an option for everyone? Yes, because I want individuals to make up their mind on what they are using. If cannabis is a good option, great. If you don't want to try it, you don't. So it's unfortunate that it's not an option, but that's the reality. And it's not the VA's decision. It's Congress's decision. They could change it if they want to, but it's a federalism question. It's complicated, and we're only going to see more and more of these issues push up as more and more states say it's legal. So I don't see this issue being resolved anytime soon. However, if you don't need the services of the VA, and you don't need to go for them, and you can get it through another provider on state level, then you're good to go. But there are things to consider that, for instance, for a federal background check, when they say, have you used drugs in the last X amount of years, like I had a full polygraph examination for my job at the FBI, those are questions you have to be prepared to answer, and you have to think long term for that. Maybe you're not interested in that, and then it's like, go crazy. Do it. Thank you. Thank you all very much. It's been a real pleasure.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today at the Disabled Veterans Awareness Program. Let's all give one last round of applause to Lieutenant Colonel Justin Constantine.
Thank you all. Thank you.
For his sacrifice and continual service, even to this day, coming here to share his experiences with us and heightening our awareness on the issues and resolutions of disabled veterans.